Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. I am really excited to just check in with all of you and just reconnect and kick off the week with some important food for thought. So for any of you that have been hanging out in this group for any period of time, hoping to gain self-control and to gain the emotional foundation that you need to truly be in charge of yourself and therefore be in charge of your life and your destiny, you probably know by now that I'm very, very passionate. You probably know that I am very, very serious about helping people eliminate emotional struggles that lead to all kinds of behavioral struggles and limit their life. And I'm absolutely passionate, and it's my greatest purpose in life to absolutely eliminate emotional and behavioral problems for people so that they can live their full potential. And in just kind of getting to know me a little bit more, and me getting to know all of you, it's important that I just continue to speak the truth that needs to be spoken because, I spend a lot of time each week, my team and I, talking to people that are struggling so deeply, struggling for so long, and they are just settling for a bunch of conventional methodologies that are not only not working, but they're hurting them, they're draining them, they're a huge part of the problem, and they're really, quite honestly, stealing people's potential, and it just bothers the hell out of me, and I'm pissed off. I think after all the conversations that I have and all the amazing success that I see in our program, it still affects me every day when I hear about somebody who has just been stuck in that conventional healthcare process. And it's the kind of thing that people are just conditioned to settle for, right? We're just conditioned that people feel like shit, everybody's anxious, everybody's depressed, everybody's miserable, and very few people know happy people in their life. Everybody's stressed, everybody's overwhelmed, and so that we're just conditioned to settle for this, even though, just so you all know, that there's an absolute world of people like myself and my team and my community of people who live with absolute emotional freedom and emotional power, and we just make the world our own, right? We just claim it and we make it our own. And I wasn't always that way. I was stuck in the settling for the old system. Hi, Anne. Thanks for saying hi. Hi. Just like my whole team was and my clients were, and it just, honestly, it makes me sick. And I want to really wake everybody up to recognize, I'm not the smartest person on the planet, but I am somebody who can do math. And in fact, I always sucked at math, but somehow I'm a very practical person and I can see things. And as a little kid, I knew this isn't how things are supposed to be. Everybody isn't supposed to be anxious and overwhelmed and miserable and screaming at each other and breaking up with each other and divorcing and basically a bunch of stuff that happens because people don't have the emotional foundation that they need. And quite honestly, that's most people in the world. And so what I see is people who are anxious, stressed, overwhelmed, going to therapy, going to doctors, going to their primary care physician, having all kinds of ailments. And in fact, I hear stuff from people that I think to myself, I thought I've heard everything, but I actually talked to somebody recently who was enrolling in our program. And this is a person that's an executive. This is a person that has a family. This is a person that when we totaled up, it was about 12 years of this absolute emotional fatigue, that had created all kinds of physical health problems, back pain, neck pain, autoimmune disorders, like 3 of them at this point, and a divorce, And like, God, if that isn't as expensive as hell and costly to a family. And this person literally had a therapist, a health coach, a recovery coach, was spending a massive fortune on supplements, was spending her life trying to literally watch every single morsel that she ate to eat clean enough so her body would not be totally inflamed, when quite honestly it has nothing to do with it. Your inflammatory experience is your own emotional inner turmoil, right? That's what's inflammatory. As much as I know all about the inflammatory nature of so many toxins in our world, the biggest inflammation is our emotional inner capacity that isn't what it needs to be. So this person was literally monitoring everything. I mean, life is miserable. Like, got to eat clean, got to do perfect. I got to exercise. I got to now exercise so I'm not depressed. She had a masseuse, an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, insomnia, awake all night, had a whole and massive strategy to cope with not being able to get off the couch, even though her sons need her. And she's basically coming home and can't even give them an ounce of her emotional capacity because it isn't there, right? So then there's all these strategies, and there's the strategy of the binge food, and then all the ways in which people are just trying to cope in all these different things. And when I really look at it, and you look at the whole overview, like if you were to pull back the lens, to pull back the camera of so many people's lives, and you were to like look in and peer in and see all of the things that are happening because somebody is not at the emotional strength they need to be, all the things they're missing out on, all the finances that they're never making, all the expenditures that they're doing, all the time spent in overwhelm, in fights, in arguments, in disappointment, in complaining, in reacting, in internally being ashamed of yourself, in coping with food and drugs and co-pays and going to the frickin' pharmacy and going to the therapist and driving to the therapist and paying the parking and sitting in traffic, and just this, it is like unbelievable that people are still willing to do this. It's unbelievable to me that people are settling for this kind of life when this stuff doesn't work and this stuff is so costly. And it's like, I know this person was on like 17 medications, and we just had to laugh. They kept adding more medications because they didn't work, right? Because medication, a freaking little anti-anxiety pill. Do you think an anti-anxiety pill in some dose that isn't lethal can actually give you the emotional foundation you need? It's just totally ludicrous. And all of these things, then she had ADD medication and all ADD exercises, and it's like, I just so get this, what's happening to people. And it's like, ADD, you're emotionally chaotic inside. That's why you cannot focus. It's nothing but anxiety. And anxiety is nothing but being sensitive and not gaining the emotional strength. And this is just crazy. This is somebody's life. Like, she's working 12 hours a day, then she's got a full-time job to go to the chiropractor and to work out and to go to the acupuncturist and then back to the naturopath doctor. And then you're going to see what these labs are. And then you're going to be like, okay, we'll try a little bit of this. Meanwhile, we'll see in 5 weeks. And your life is passing you by. And you're like settling for some little crumb of hope. You're like settling for some little crumb of progress. Like, okay, I'm going to think that maybe this supplement is going to change my life. And granted, we need all this nutrition. We need the fuel. We need the nutrients. But we are a culture of people who just continues to, because we've been conditioned this way, and it makes people a lot of money, right? I mean, it makes people, I think this person said she had like 27 supplements a day. I'm thinking, where do you have no wonder you're exhausted. You're exhausted from your life, and you're exhausted from trying to fix yourself. and they just keep adding more supplements. And it's like, so many of my clients were like, how many supplements, right? The doctor's like, we'll add another supplement to it. It's just insane. Let me see, even though vitamin D is like so key and awesome, let me see if this vitamin D can give you an emotional foundation that you haven't had your entire life. Because let's get honest about it. You've been anxious most of your life. You've been feeling impacted by other people's emotions. You've been feeling overwhelmed. You've been struggling. You've been binging. You've been not accomplishing things. You've been not having the relationships that you want. You've been breaking up with people that are good for you and then being with people that are bad for you because you're so conditioned for settling and misery. And this is just, I mean, this just breaks my heart. It just, thank you, Jeanette. Absolutely. This just breaks my heart to hear this. And I just want to shout from the rooftops to wake up and not settle for these little band-aids and not settle for a life where you just keep getting more and more sensitive, right? Because when you are emotionally sensitive, let me just break this down a little bit. You know, people in families, everyone, you know how like people grow up in the same family and some person ends up being like the person that's struggling. They've got depression, maybe they've got a drinking problem, like, and then somebody else is like, have the same freaking parents and they're just like, whatever, doing my thing, and mom and dad or whatever, and they're just killing it in the world, right? And then it looks like, well, this poor person, and they've got all these problems, and it's just like this whole dynamic that goes on in every freaking family, and it's like this big mystery, even though it's in every single family. And having been that sensitive person, right? I know this. It's like having watched my dad's brother be totally emotionally sensitive and then just be told to be freaking go to some AA meeting where they're just talking about you suck and you're a wreck and you're defective and your character sucks and you're a bad person and you don't want to get help. And like, let's see if that doesn't make him want to blow his brains out, right? Which he did, which he wanted to. He didn't, but I mean, he wanted to. So having been that emotionally sensitive person, having watched my uncle and then have our whole family be impacted by my uncle's problems when nobody knew what it was or knew what he was doing. And then throughout my life, having been a psychologist, like from the get-go, I would just observe all these people and their families. And it's like every single person has that person in their family, at least one, who's got the problems, right? Who's anxious, who keeps fucking up, who keeps blowing it, who keeps getting divorced or whatever, and then is got the drinking problem that nobody's dealing with it, or they're 500 pounds and it's like, hey, nobody's going like, hey, you're dying, right? You're killing yourself. Why do you want to kill yourself with food? Well, it's because you're pain managing, because you're emotionally sensitive. And so there are certain people that are born and they're in families who have whatever emotional landscape is going on there, right? Where the family members, the parents also usually include somebody who's emotionally sensitive and going off the rails. And then that makes the whole environment crazy. And then the kids in the family, somebody's sensitive. And that sensitivity means that you feel everything. You're impacted. You have emotional turmoil. You have to become the perfectionist, the comedian. You have to get sick. You have to have constant stomach aches or whatever because you can't handle the environment, the emotional environment in the world we live in. And that goes on, and nobody understands something that I just hope everybody can just get and take this to the bank of your life. Take this to the bank. That if you are not in charge of your emotions, and then that also makes you not in charge of your behaviors, because when you're not in charge of your emotions and emotions are more overwhelming than you have the bandwidth for, you will do a bunch of behaviors that you don't want to do, or you'll not do behaviors you want to do because that emotional sensitivity and your emotional overwhelm is going to be in charge of you no matter how much you try for them not to be. So when you have emotional sensitivity, which doesn't mean like my dad used to say, you're so sensitive, you're like your mom, you're so sensitive. It's this horrible judgment. Like I could cry right now. I could literally cry right now because he didn't get what he was doing. I will cry right now. Without saying, hey, you might be emotionally sensitive and that's a judgment. It's not like that. I don't mean it like that. I mean, very simply, in the laws of physics, if you feel overwhelmed by emotions of your own and by the emotions of others, then it's not about something that's wrong with you being emotionally sensitive. It means you're so amazingly sensitive to pick up on the environment. You are so gifted that you can feel what is going on. That means you're somebody like me. You could see what is happening and then you can do something about it. So if you're sensitive, it doesn't mean, oh, I'm sensitive and that's just who I am and that's what it is. It simply means that that gift of emotional sensitivity that makes it so that you can really know what people need and help them in this world means that it comes with a responsibility to develop the emotional strength that sensitivity needs so that you can have this beautiful combination of feeling what's happening to people, having like spidey sense and being like so emotionally intelligent in that way that you can feel it, but then you can have the emotional strength to freaking deal with it and withstand it and then make it an absolute asset to you and to other people in this world. Because when you have emotional sensitivity and you feel everything, but then you get the emotional strength so that you can be intuitive, but you are not wrecked by all of these emotions, then you can kick ass, take names, and chew bubblegum in this world. Okay, so if any of you in here struggle with feeling emotional turmoil, and you're like, I can't control it, I can't do it, I can't fix it, it's been going on, it's getting worse, I'm yelling, I'm imploding, I'm falling apart, I'm depressed because my system has to shut down because I'm so totally emotionally overwhelmed, then it's all about simply understanding that you've been given a tremendous gift in this world that other people don't have, to be sensitive, to be empathetic to people, and they need you. Yes, Mitzi, awesome. They need you. Then that responsibility, that it's just there. It's like, I'm not going to just be emotionally sensitive and go, that's the end of the story. Like I'm just stuck. We have to recognize that even though other people don't have to deal with this, they don't have what we have. And so we just have to be responsible to this amazing gift that we have. We have to grow the emotional strength, because in the conventional process, everyone, here is what happens. You're going to be going to doctors, you're going to go to therapists, you're going to go to the psychiatrist. I forgot to add that one. That's the other doctor that woman had. You're going to go to all of these things. You're going to have the medications. They're going to make you feel like temporarily a little bit of relief, because a little bit of relief is better than freaking hanging on by a thread. So you're like, yay, this medication is making me feel a little bit better. And then your whole freaking strategy is like some damn anti-anxiety medication, which the more time goes on and you don't have the emotional strength, you're either going to need more of that, which is going to have a bunch of side effects, by the way. And people tend to ignore that because they're like, shit, I'm in pain. Who cares if this thing's going to kill my liver? Then later on, you're having liver disease, and it's like, well, I wonder how that happened. Right? Read the labels. It's like, this medicine may kill you, but when we're just in pain and we're given a Band-Aid, it's like, it's just, this is why I just am so frustrated, and this is why I tirelessly have to change this, because the thought that people are dealing with this, going through this, people, you wonderful, lovely, amazing people, your partners, your kids, the people that like you've had to get divorced from because like you couldn't make it work because it required some major emotional strength, right? To be in relationship to someone else and to give yourself what you need. I mean, it's like amazing. How do we all do it, right? So think about this thing that we're settling for. This is like the sickest process ever. But, you know, it's what we had, right? It's what we've had. And as things evolve and they don't work, the biggest thing that we have to do as people is not be like, oh, this isn't working, and I'm just getting hit over the head with this horrible stuff that's going on with me, and then I'm going to keep going to something that's not working. And you all know, I've talked to enough of you, you all knew a long time ago that this stuff doesn't work. And you also knew that the medication and that stuff wasn't a good idea. Nobody wants to take it. You know this stuff doesn't work. You know when you're in a doctor's visit, you know they're full of shit and they're just like, here's a little fish. Hi, Dina. Hi, Dina. Good to see you. So you know that, right? I was like 17 going, this therapist is like a nice lady, but she's not making it so I can be better, right? She's being nice to me so I can feel a little bit better in the moment, but she wasn't making it so I could feel better. So there's all these wonderful, well-meaning people. You go to these visits, they dole out a little fish. Here's a little medication, or, you know, maybe this will be better. You go to the therapist, you know, I know, Brad, I know, that's why I'm helping you all here. Been there, done that. You know it's not really right. You know inside of you something isn't there that you need. And we've been taught also this bullshit of like, I'm not enough. This bullshit, I am not enough. But it makes sense, right? Because when we have this amazing drive and we see life going on, we want to kick ass at it. From the time we're little, right? We see people kicking ass. We want to kick ass at it. And then we're like, keep getting our ass, like, ow, that hurts, right? Something happened in my house and now I feel like overwhelmed. Something happened in my life and my boss said something and we're like just so like, oh, and we just have this emotional turmoil going on, and then it sets off this cascade of stuff, and then you're trying to recover from it, manage it, and you're just like, it's so reverberating, right? And you're just going like, this is not good. And you know deep down, like, shit, I am not equipped with what I need. And you've been taught to have low self-esteem about it. And then that just keeps fueling you not trusting yourself, knowing that these things that you're doing don't work. And the people that you're getting help from, I'll guarantee you everyone in here is smarter than everyone that's helping you. And you know that, which also makes you feel kind of unsafe because you know this is like a nice person, but you know they don't really know what they're doing. And all they've got is like to just dole out this little crumb here or there, and maybe some hope, and no tip, no strategy, nothing that makes you feel like you're going to actually gain what you need versus just tolerate it, manage it, buffer it. And it just, I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. But this is what we've had in this culture up until now. We've had this thing that makes it so that you're so sensitive, you end up creating all these protective strategies without even meaning to, without knowing it. Your life gets small. You feel everybody's, against you. You feel nobody understands you. You feel low self-esteem. You feel low self-worth. You feel all these things, and then it just breeds, guess what? More sensitivity, more emotional weakness. And over years of time, this like cuts you down. And all the great drive and spark and spunk that you had that was kind of propelling you forward, you just get totally broke down, like from the inside out. And before you know it, you're like, depends. I talked to many different people of many different ages. And unfortunately, everyone, for years in my practice, I have been seeing people at very, very young ages already worn out. Already totally worn out, autoimmune, more anxiety, like so much anxiety they can't, it's insane. The hormonal levels everything's up because it's just been an onslaught of emotional turmoil that they have not been able to manage because they don't have the emotional strength, and none of the processes that they're doing are strengthening. If anything, it's like, let me give you a pill to try to band-aid something that is broken over here while this thing just keeps getting broker and broker and broker. And then people go, oh, the medication stopped working, right? I mean, how many people in this country are on antidepressants and totally freaking depressed and they don't work, but you just keep doing them because they're doing like a little something for you. And then if you read all the antidepressant, like when people try to look and see what the medication's about, if you read the forums on medication, it's this one thing after another. Like, it doesn't work anymore. And then I had to try this, but then I was so screwed when I went off of it that then I had to go back on it because it's better than nothing. And I hate myself and I hate this. Yeah, Anne, I do. I've been you. All of my clients have been there. And I just sometimes when I just talk to people and day in and day out, and I'm just like, screw this for people. This is not okay. Right? And I know it can be overwhelming. I know this is so overwhelming. And it's hard to trust people because when you've been emotionally sensitive and it's created less, it's broken down any emotional strength that was there, you don't trust yourself, right? Because you're like out of something that you need. You don't have it. It hasn't been built up. That muscle hasn't been built. So then you're like, this person may be able to help me. Like maybe Dr.T sounds like she knows what she's talking about, but I can't trust her because I don't trust anything. I don't trust myself. I don't trust all these people who say that this thing is going to work and tell me to take 15 different supplements, which is very convenient since everybody's selling supplements. And you don't know what to trust, right? You know this doesn't work, but it's also like, wow, what do I do here? Can something different really work for me? And what I want to just say, everyone, is when you know what doesn't work and you know it's wrong, even though you haven't had a bunch of options, I really want to encourage you to trust that the only thing that is going to change your emotional sensitivity out of just kicking your butt and impacting you and then having you set off on a tangent, right, where you go, oh my God, all of a sudden now I have 14 practitioners and my whole month is spoken for in appointments to try to relax or try to get my neck pain or back pain. All of these things, neck pain, back pain, right? Unless you've been like in a car accident, they're all from getting crushed through emotional sensitivity. And then you go and you're like, I'm going to go to the chiropractor and then he's going to make an adjustment and I'm going to be like cool for a day or two. And then it's like the weight of the emotional overload just crushes you again. And your system is going, ugh. It's shrinking. It's like, please, it's like, it's not open and it's not like, I am strong and I can take on the world. Right? So know this. Building emotional strength, getting the emotional foundation that none of us ever got in our life. None of us ever got it. I didn't get it. I had to literally create the methodology because it wasn't around me. It wasn't in any therapist, any doctor. Honestly, I remember this day this doctor was like I knew it was something else. And this doctor was like, no, you're depressed. And I was like, of course I'm depressed. These emotional, this is so overwhelming. My system is depressed with a bunch of emotional stuff that is happening all around me. And it feels like it's happening inside of me. Okay. So I can remember just going, no. And I refused. And I was like, no, there's a root cause and this needs to get fixed at the root level. And that's what I did. Right. And that's how I got out of anxiety, depression, and eating disorder, Hashimoto's, everything. I mean, at one point, I think I was 29 years old or something. I was like, I'm just laying on the freaking couch. Like, all I want to do is lay down because I'm just beat to shit. And I'm 29 years old. And this is crazy. It's crazy. So building your emotional foundation the way it needs to be built, getting that emotional fitness, not one little crumb at a time, but like a rock solid transformation that you need is the pathway, everyone. I say that so emphatically because I know that those of you that are listening and will watch this, I know you don't disagree. I know nothing else makes sense to you. And if there's any way that you can make that paradigm shift for yourself and recognize no one in this world, right? Jeanette's brother, Like all the people that I talk to, people's family members, people's kids, nobody, like this is something that pisses me off. Let me just tell you this. When somebody says, he just wants to be like that. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about anybody. You just want to be like that. I actually remember having somebody say to me, like, you like to be angry. It's like, fuck you. Who wants to feel impacted by some other person so that I then feel pain inside of me? Oh my God. Nobody that struggles with emotional issues that build into a constellation of symptoms mentally and physiologically wants that. Nobody's like, I'm so glad to come into this world and be the sensitive one. Well, other people seem to be doing okay. Nobody wants that. And yet, that's what's happening. And people must change this paradigm to know that anything and everything you can do to build emotional strength is building your resources from the inside out, not putting a Band-Aid on a freaking gunshot wound. You know, it's like, let me chop my arm off and then I'm like, oh, I'll just kind of hang out, see what happens. Maybe like get a Band-Aid. No, it doesn't make sense. And I'm just going to read for a second here what Jeanette's saying. Jeanette says, my poor brother's been suffering from depression and severe headaches. Of course, from grief, can't take antidepressants. Right. They're horrible. Bad side effects. He's tried everything. I tell him exercise, eat, stay healthy. And Jeanette, that all makes sense and it all is helpful. These pieces and chunks can be very helpful. But even your brother knows he wants to do that, is trying to do that. There's the piece missing. And the piece missing, everyone, is the emotional foundation. It is not, hey, that whole concept, I want everybody to get that I'm not enough. And you go, God, I'm not enough. God, I'm not enough. This world is so overwhelming and I am not enough to meet the demands of life while other people are kicking ass and taking names. It's not true. It simply means you were given a very particular gift, right? That's why he's sensitive, Jeanette, to the antidepressants. He's the canary in the coal mine. Right here, I'm one of those as well. It means you know stuff that's not good. You know stuff isn't good. You know, like, how about all the stuff that people watch happen around them and you know it's horrible, but you just let it happen? Really emotionally sensitive people are just impacted by that. And even though we cannot just go and like change the entire world around us, the way we change it is from the inside out. And when we in our own internal environment have our own world strong, powerful, full of the fuel that we need, and then able to be happy, peaceful, and have an immunity to what's happening externally, then you have this great thing. You have immunity to the pain, but you have the connectivity to look at what's happening and move forward in some sort of way that you want to apply yourself and make an impact. So sensitive people have the greatest gift of all. When you build the emotional strength, you have the greatest gift together. You have emotional strength and emotional sensitivity. Then you can see things for what they are. You can make them better, but you do it from having that emotional strength, right? That's the great thing. Because the people who are not emotionally sensitive, and we all know a lot of them, we think, oh my God, they're not empathetic. That's not because they're missing something. It's because they're wired for a different thing. They're wired in a different way for a different reason. They have a different purpose, and they're meant to do that. And they've got more emotional strength, but maybe they don't have the emotional sensitivity. And guess what? We all want those the non-empathetic people to do. We want them to develop emotional sensitivity, right? So that's their pathway. Their pathway is to be, they're just strong and they're like, whatever, I'm not that, nothing bothers me that much. They can like be harsh. They can whatever. They can be impervious to things. What are they getting in their face all the time? You're not sensitive enough. You're not connected enough. I don't feel like you're emotionally available. That's their pathway. Their pathway is to take that emotional strength and develop the emotional sensitivity so we can all be in a world together where we have this beautiful combination. We're all teaching each other this, of that emotional strength that makes us really powerful and really able to just be totally immune to stress while being totally connected through the sensitivity. It's the greatest path ever. Okay, so Jeanette, thanks for listening. I know I'm going on and on and on because I can't help myself. This is all inside of me. I want to share it with all of you. I don't want people suffering. I really, really encourage any of you, if you feel called to change the paradigm for how you're approaching all of this, even if you feel like, you know, things aren't that serious enough for you, that serious, and you're doing okay. Recognize that anywhere you are not in charge of your emotions, and you can be in charge of your entire destiny. You can run the world. You can like name what you want and claim it and have it. So changing the paradigm from this haze of, you know, I just keep adding things. I keep adding the chiropractor, now I'm going to do the energy worker, and now I'm going to do the sacred feminine, and I love all of these things. All of the beautiful spirituality and the religious doctrine, and all of it is wonderful. And yet, imagine going through an emotional training boot camp so that you could just once and for all get that emotional fitness in you, right? The way they send people to boot camp, there's a reason for that, right? Get it done, get on, kick ass, move on with your life, and do what you're called to do and lead. So changing that paradigm, that going through a program where you can literally in a short period of time be conditioned, trained, and strengthened to be the most emotionally powerful version of yourself you ever even thought possible, but be more emotionally powerful than everyone around you, is something I really encourage you all to consider. There are people going through our program that inside of a week are emailing me saying, I haven't felt this good in 50 years. Right there. This is so powerful. And what you're getting from me in these videos, if any of this resonates with you, it's not just because I just have some agenda for something that isn't deeply purposeful. It's a reason that I don't even know how much time I'm spending, because it's about all of you. If anything that I say, if any form of my leadership resonates with you, know that this is just scratching the surface for what our program does. This is just scratching the surface. And even though I'm super serious, I'm super passionate, I'm super very much about enjoying the ride also. So we have a lot of fun. We get fit, and not in a way where you're like, shit, I have to go to the gym. I got to just get these clothes on. Like I'm like, ugh. This is something people love to do. Becoming emotionally fit is the freaking coolest, most powerful, most fun thing. Because when you have the greatest skill set, when you have the greatest capacity a human being can ever have, then guess what? You're like whole body, every part of you actually feels like it went to the gym. So gaining this emotional capacity, cut my literal requirement to ever go exercise probably down to like 10%. Because I'm an emotionally fit person, my body and my whole being is totally emotionally fit, and people think I'm like working out all the time and doing all this stuff. But emotional fitness is our birthright, it's our nature, and when we are emotionally fit, we are actually naturally, beautifully fit as a person. This is the greatest secret of all, right? For any of you that don't want to also spend your entire life going to the gym to fix something when we need to fix it from the inside out. So Jeanette's asking, it's like you have to change your way of thinking to feel better. How do we get the emotional sensitivity? So Jeanette, how do we get the emotional sensitivity? I think if you're asking how we get the emotional strength, what I understand for most people that are in here that feel like they don't have the ability to control their emotions the way they want, and therefore their behaviors, and therefore their destiny, and really making what they want to happen in life, you may be asking how you get the emotional strength. But in case you're asking how you get the emotional sensitivity, continue, because that's the other thing that our program does, which you just actually, Jeanette, thank you. You just actually taught me something so profound. That is why I love doing what I do and having new people in our program and new people in this group that we can learn together, because I forgot that that's the other part, that part of gaining emotional strength is gaining emotional sensitivity, because in order to have emotional strength, you literally need to have the mechanism that helps you be fully connected to yourself at the deepest level so you can strengthen yourself from that place. So in our program, we actually are building both. That we're building the emotional connection to the self so that you can truly gain that emotional strength. Oh, got it. Yes, and you're saying in the emotional strength. So in gaining that emotional strength, it comes from training. It comes from a transformative training process that happens through a very powerful set of mechanisms that I use, very powerful, comprehensive, methodical training process that also includes my very powerful leadership, which is, if you can feel, it's a very powerful emotional presence. And that emotional presence gets transferred to all of you. It gets transferred to people. It builds that presence. It taps into that presence which is within them. So our program takes people in a short period of time, in a matter of really a few months, no matter where they are, right? People are suicidally depressed. People have been diagnosed with borderline, bipolar, everything, you name it, schizophrenia, paranoid personality disorder, just generalized anxiety, every autoimmune disorder known to man, everything you can imagine. And through something that never happens in real life, through a concentrated time frame and process and pacing, that I do this emotional training. And I do it, make it very easy, very convenient for people, both online component and live component with me and my amazing team. That emotional strength is built up in a very, very short period of time, right? So imagine, right, if you did go, like, if anybody knows, and it's like, I don't know that much about military boot camp, but this has always made sense to me. When they send someone to boot camp, right, they say, you're going to have a concentrated amount of time. I think it might be something like 6 weeks or something like that, maybe 8 weeks. You're going to have a concentrated amount of time. And for this time frame, even though we don't literally have you from sun up to sundown, we don't have you sun up to sundown, but we've got a process so that people can be on a daily basis strengthening themselves through a very A to Z process. Because if I miss any parts of developing that emotional strength in somebody, then guess what? It's like missing a muscle group. So it's like having that experience of boot camp. People do it in their own home. They do it. We have all this great technology. And through that process, as somebody goes to boot camp, they say, sun up to sundown. We are conditioning you, right? We're conditioning your emotions, your behavior, your thinking. What they really say, they're just building this person up. And what do they say, right? They say a little bit like, we're going to break you down to build you up. Well, although I'm not screaming in your face, I'm not going to do stuff like that. What I do is I do break down and break through the absolute emotion, the causes of the emotional vulnerabilities, the hidden root causes, the hidden emotional things that you cannot see, that I have like super X-ray vision on. And when I can see that, I literally, and this is the gift I've been given in my life, which is why I had to get the responsibility to do something with it. I can literally see the whole person. And the other part, Jeanette, is through our program, we do an exorbitant amount of evaluation. I learn about 5,000 things about our clients because I want to see everything. I want to know every nook and cranny of you that no one ever thought to ask and you never thought to even discover about yourself. So through my full extensive evaluation, so I can see every root cause that is creating the emotional overwhelm and is creating this force greater than you that is making you feel things and do things or not do things, through that process, through evaluation, totally extensively, so I don't miss an iota about you, so I can fix everything. I can change and create that emotional training. Thank you, Simone. Thank you for saying that. Simone, thank you for chiming in. Simone is one of our absolute rock stars, and she gets it. Thank you, Simone. So, and I want to really answer this, Jeanette. I'm so glad that you're asking and that you're engaged. This is why I'm here, to help you with all of this. And Simone knows this, that I've got to set up, right? And Simone is somebody who has been through the ringer, right? Had all these, I know she would be okay. She's like, this whole conventional thing is not working. And when you feel this overwhelm, you don't have the ability to go run around and do all these things and piece it all together yourself and try to be the treatment plan or the case manager. So Jeanette, what I do is I'm the leader, right? I can see all sides of everything. I can help see exactly what's causing it, what the emotional patterns are. I can see all of it. And I make it really easy to have people go through this emotional training, which is not only excavating, uncovering, eliminating what doesn't work that nobody's been able to see, right? Nobody was able to see, otherwise Simone would have been better a long time ago, right? The way she's getting better through the program. So really seeing everything on a massively huge level, evaluating that, and then training through this very paced program so that you go through the boot camp, and boot camp can sound really overwhelming to people with emotional sensitivity. So please know that emotional boot camp feels amazing, because with every moment of your training, you actually feel strength. It's not like you go work, well, I guess it is kind of like you go work out, you kind of feel like you're making that effort, but you actually feel strength, right? You actually feel alive, awakened, enlivened by it. So going through emotional training in a very concentrated amount, concentrated time frame, with a very easy setup so that you can do this no matter what your life has, is what I made it to be, because nobody else would be able to do it anyway, otherwise. And so also what's important, Jeanette, and all of you, is that part of what keeps people in emotional weakness and keeps breaking them down is the conventional system that makes it so that you're going to have an endless array of things to work on. You're going to have to keep going to the doctor, keep going to get the medication, keep going to the co-pays, keep going to the pharmacy, keep trialing and erroring. And your whole life, when you have these issues, guess what it feels like? And so you're like, well, now my entire life is fixing myself. I'm exhausted. Fuck it. Right? Why do I want to do that? And the fact that it's so hard to get well, which is what needs to change, everyone, it needs to be to get strengthened. Okay, the fact, though, that people make it so hard to get well, even though everybody's just working off the old methodologies, means that you're like this woman I described to you earlier in this video, in this conversation. It's like she's exhausted by the regimen of things that she has to do, and this is indefinite. And what we were kind of laughing about, although it kind of made her cry, was that she now had to keep working harder, longer, even though she's totally overwhelmed. And then she's going to have to keep working longer and can never retire because she's got a full-time job and a massive budget to try to fix all of the symptoms of not having emotional strength. It's crazy. This is what people, then they just give up. And then you're just like, well, why don't I just eat and drink my ass off and just give up? Because inside you literally feel like, not only do I not have something I need, but in order to get it, I have to somehow know what it is. I have to somehow know how to do it. And I don't. If I did, I would. So hopefully that's helping everyone understand why everybody has such challenges with this, is because this whole wellness process implies that you have to know how to do it, and you have to be the physician. And so the good news is what I'll just add, and then I will wrap this up, everyone. This is how passionate I am. I could just go on and on wanting to help you with all of this. Believe me, I over deliver for a reason, because everybody else under delivers. Sorry, just lost my train of thought. Sorry. I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say, oh, well. Oh, shoot, I lost it. Okay. I'm going to hang out and smile for a second. I'm just so glad that Simone came on, and Mitzi, who's also in the program. And, oh, so Jeanette, you're just saying, so he committed suicide. Sorry, let me just read this. I ever met, he was the strongest person, and he committed suicide. He would have saved. He thought he could have saved and helped him. He blames himself. Wow. So so Jeanette, just know this, that is all emotional pain imploding. It's just, and it will continue to implode, and it's just the way our being works. And guess what? Oh, I love you, Simone. I love you, Simone. I love you. There it is. That guilt, that keeps everybody stuck. That shame, there it is. I'm going to come back to Jeanette's brother. Simone, I'm with you, girl. That's why we fought so hard for you, right? Because that stuff, that is just keeps crushing you and crushing you, right? Then it's like, now I'm causing my family problems. Now I'm costing money. Like, nobody wants this. But I want everyone to know that when you have that emotional pain, it will just keep, this is how amazing we are. Our whole system is so phenomenal when we make it work for us. We just have to know how it works. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Let me come back to I was going to say something. You're so welcome, Jeanette. So emotional pain will keep trying to get your attention. It'll create more symptoms and more symptoms. And the rest of the conventional field of medicine will say, here's how we're going to fix that symptom. Here, we're going to do migraine surgery. We're going to do a bunch of CAT scans. We're going to keep doing all stuff. I mean, I hear it all. And it will keep doing that. And you'll be like a client of mine, Kate, who came to me and had 3 migraine surgeries and still had migraines. And inside of 3 weeks into the program, no more migraines. Okay, so know that emotional pain will implode you from the inside out. And the culture will say, go do a bunch of stuff to try to heal this pain. And let me give you a huge truth bomb. You don't heal emotional pain by going to do things that are painful and causing yourself more pain. And you don't heal emotional pain by talking about emotional pain. It makes it more painful. You heal emotional pain by strengthening yourself so you don't ever have it in the first place. Doesn't that make a lot more sense? That's what our program does for people. It's helping them know exactly how to never be in emotional pain, because there's no benefit. There it is, Jeanette. Every one of these things, I've seen it all. I've worked for years. I worked with celebrities and high-profile people and politicians who just tried everything. I think at one point I had a client who had spent, I want to be accurate about this, I think about $3 million on like 17 different rehabs, and it like spent 7 years of her life in rehab. I mean, of eating disorder rehab and every kind of rehab, and you name it, everything. To cryo, every kind of thing. And that is fixing the symptom. And it doesn't mean you don't get a little temporary relief, because there's some attention to it. But consider this to be very different, everyone. That's why I'm so excited to share this all with you, because it changed my life, gave me my life back. You don't fix emotional pain by fixing the symptoms. You create the ability to not have it. And that doesn't mean you won't feel things and be like empathetic and be connected. It means you don't feel pain. And the only pain that you'll feel is when you cut your damn finger and you go, shoot, I need a Band-Aid, because that's telling you to go get something to coagulate that blood and to stop that injury. But emotional pain, there is zero benefit. Zero benefit of it. It can produce nothing. And people think it brings us together, it bonds us. Most people's lives are bonded by emotional pain. And nobody's very happy in that, right? So think about this different paradigm. That's exactly, Jeanette. That's exactly. So think of the paradigm. And I don't care, don't let anybody tell you any different. And if you think this is crazy, then think about what the alternative is, right? The alternative is, I'm in pain and I keep fixing the symptoms of pain, and I'm just doing that. And look what How many people do you know where they're like, I have been depressed forever and been on antidepressants, and it's just, you're going, oh my God, I feel so bad for this person. Changing your immunity to pain through emotional strength makes all the difference. And I got to tell you, living a life where all these things can happen outside of me, right? People can be freaking out, all kinds of things. And here's the other thing I want to recognize. For years, people have said to me, isn't it painful dealing with people's painful emotions? And I am so glad that for my entire career, right, because I figured this out and then I created all of this, that I don't feel people's emotional pain. I only feel connected to them and know how to strengthen them. So that's the great news, is I don't feel people's emotional pain. And I'm more connected than ever, because the misnomer is that if you feel someone's pain, you'll be more connected. But it's not true. When you're not in pain and you're emotionally strong, you can be connected on levels that everybody really wants to be. Then you have real intimacy, you have the fulfillment that people are missing, that doesn't come from a life where everybody's talking about pain, right? We're going to talk about pain, we're going to complain. We feel a little bonded, but we don't feel fulfilled. We don't feel fulfilled in a culture where we're always in pain and bonding in pain. Where we feel fulfilled, and this is how much fun we have in our emotional strength training program that we do, is every week as our clients are coming on and they're literally celebrating, or they're sending emails and they're feeling amazing about themselves, talk about connection and talk about celebration and fulfillment, we feel fulfilled from feeling great. And that, quite honestly, everyone, is the only way you feel fulfilled. You don't feel fulfilled from pain. You feel fulfilled from your strength and your ability to connect through your strength with people. And then when that strength impacts other people, it's just a positive feedback loop. So I'm going to wrap this up, everyone. I'm going to wrap this up and just thank you for your attention, for all of you that are staying on, and for all of you, get a little light here, for all of you that will watch this, and for all of you that say, Jesus, Dr. T, you are going on and on, but you stay with it because you know it's different, right? That this can absolutely be different with each person that decides that the greatest gift that they can give to themselves and their people in their family, their friends, their colleagues, their coworkers, their employees, everyone around them, is to be the emotionally strongest person that they can. Because when that frequency is higher and higher and higher, then just being you makes everybody stronger and stronger. And guess what? It happens without you working. You're just being. You're just being strong, and it just makes everybody feel better. And the greatest feedback loop ever is to be strong and powerful from the inside out. And then just by being you, have people feel like you're doing so much for them. And you're saying to yourself, even though I appreciate, I have so many wonderful compliments day in and day out. And what it feels like from the inside out is, you're so welcome. And this is just me being me. And that's a really wonderful thing. So for any of you that feel like you want to investigate gaining emotional strength, and I'm not really doing justice right now explaining the program because there's so much to it. It would take me like 12 weeks to explain it. But know that the result is what matters. And because everything else that other people are doing, our conditioning, I'm going to go on even more here, our conditioning is to settle for a process instead of results, right? Oh, well, I've got a nice therapist. I like her. I've got a process. And that looks like results, but it's not. And the only results that matter is if you are living the way you want to live, feeling the way you want to feel, being the way you want to be, and you have the choice to do whatever you want in life, because there's nothing emotional getting in the way. There's no greater, this is freedom. So instead of settling for a process, instead of settling for Band-Aids, even though it can seem kind of intimidating or Even though it can seem different, trust your own instincts and what things don't make sense and what do. And if any of you want to investigate, just having us do an evaluation on anything that's just what's going on with you, what's not working for you. It's very simple what we do. We look at what's not working. We look at where you're struggling and suffering. Then we look at the exact results you want, because results are all that count. You feeling the way you want to feel as soon as possible, immediately, with a game plan and an end game, instead of, like I was just saying about Jeanette's brother, like when it's just this open-ended thing, you're just like, oh, I'm just exhausted by the thought of it. So something with a plan and an end game where it can be different. Let's just investigate together. All we're going to do is have a conversation. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at what you want. I'll look and see if you're a fit for the program. And you'll see, is the program a fit for you? And you can look and see what an entirely new paradigm in this opportunity is. And the way to do that, I will post the link when I end this live here, is you get on our schedule. There's an application that you'll fill out so we can learn a little bit more about you, and we'll have a conversation. And whether it's Jeanette for someone like yourself or your brother or whoever, don't let the emotional overwhelm, don't let the conditioning that this cannot be dramatically different in a short period of time keep you from investigating that opportunity. Right? That would be, quite honestly, an emotional pattern that keeps people stuck and keeps people from fulfilling their potential. Right? Is to let that fear, intimidation. I might be kind of intimidating because I'm so passionate. That is what it is. But have the emotional strength, just a little bit, to investigate that opportunity for yourself. And I look forward to continuing to serve you all in this group. It's one of my favorite things to do each week. And I look forward to evaluating and just doing a quick consultation for any of you that want me to do that. And so you all have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you in the next few days with another, hopefully very valuable video that will help you gain emotional strength. Thank you. Good night.